The greatest enemy of success isn't failure, it's inconsistency. Anyone can be great for a day, disciplined for a week, or motivated for a month. But consistency, that's rare. That's where the magic hides. Because the power that builds wealth, transforms health, and shapes destiny isn't found in what you do once, it's found in what you do always. If you can stay consistent long enough, time will make you unstoppable. Let me tell you something that changed the entire course of my life. Desire by itself is not enough. You can want wealth, success, freedom, even happiness with every fiber of your being, but unless you have discipline, all that desire is nothing more than daydreaming. Discipline is the bridge between wanting something and actually having it. Everyone wants to have more, but not everyone is willing to do what more requires. Desire creates the spark, but discipline keeps the fire alive long after the excitement fades. I remember when I was young, I wanted a better life so badly that it hurt. I wanted to travel, to have a home of my own, to take care of my family, but wanting didn't pay the bills. My mentor told me, you can't just wish for things to change, you must work for things to change. And the key word there is work. Not random, frantic effort, but consistent, disciplined work. See, the world rewards effort, but it only crowns discipline. Discipline isn't something you're born with, it's something you decide on. It's a muscle that gets stronger the more you use it. It's what gets you up when you don't feel like getting up, what makes you study when you'd rather relax, and what keeps you saving when spending feels easier. Everyone feels motivated at the beginning of a journey. The real test comes when the excitement wears off. That's when discipline steps in. That's when you find out who's serious and who's just talking. Now, I learned that the body follows the mind. You don't wait to feel ready to act. You act, and the feeling follows. Discipline starts with a decision. You decide that today matters, that the small steps count, that your future deserves more than your excuses. When you make that choice, you begin to turn invisible effort into visible results. You see, success is rarely dramatic. It's quiet. It's boring sometimes. It's reading when you could be watching TV. It's saying no when others say yes. It's tracking your progress on paper, not just in your head. Because when you see it written, you realize progress isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. I used to write down the habits I wanted to build, read 20 pages a day, save 10% of every dollar, plan tomorrow before bed. Some days I didn't want to do them, but I told myself, just one more day. And that's how success happens, one more day at a time. Discipline compounds like interest. You won't see it after one day or 1 week, but give it a month, a year, 5 years, and 1 day, you'll look back and realize your small daily acts built a bridge strong enough to carry you from where you were to where you always wanted to be. Discipline doesn't just change what you have, it changes who you are. It gives you self-respect, confidence, and control. It's the difference between wishing for success and walking toward it. So, when you leave here today, don't just hope for a better future. Decide on the disciplines that will create it and practice them until they become your way of life. Because in the end, desire will get you started, but discipline will get you there. I've often said that success isn't something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. But how do you become that person? Not by taking one giant leap, but by taking hundreds of small, deliberate steps, day after day, week after week. The truth is, the difference between people who fail and people who flourish isn't found in one massive action. It's found in what they do consistently. Most people overestimate the power of one dramatic moment and underestimate the power of steady daily effort. But wealth, like health, like wisdom, is built one small step at a time. I remember when I first began to change my life. I was broke, behind on my bills, and frustrated. I wanted to fix everything overnight. I wanted a miracle, but my mentor said, you don't need a miracle, you need momentum, and momentum starts small. He told me to start by saving a little each week. Not a fortune, just a few dollars. To start reading 10 pages a day. Not a whole book, just 10 pages. At first, it seemed too small to matter, but after a few months, I realized those little steps were changing me, my mindset, my confidence, my direction. You see, life doesn't respond to occasional effort, it responds to consistent effort. Doing the right thing once feels good. Doing it daily changes your destiny. Each small action is like a single brick, insignificant alone, but together they build a mansion. You can't skip the process. The same way you can't plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow. Growth requires time, patience, and repetition. The key is to trust in compounding, the principle that little efforts multiplied by time create enormous results. Just as money compounds when invested wisely, so do your actions, your habits, and your skills. Read a few pages daily for a year, and you'll finish dozens of books. Save a few dollars every week, and one day you'll have financial peace. Make one connection a day, and in time, you'll have a network that opens doors you never thought possible. The math is simple, but the discipline is rare. What stops most people isn't a lack of desire, it's impatience. They quit because they don't see results fast enough. But remember, the roots grow long before the tree appears. Your daily disciplines are building something below the surface. One day, that quiet work will become visible to the world, and people will call you lucky. But luck is simply consistency rewarded. If you want big results, stop waiting for big moments. Instead, decide on one small financial or personal habit you'll commit to for the next 90 days. Write it down, track it, reflect on it weekly. Don't worry about speed, worry about direction. Progress isn't about how fast you move, it's about how steadily you move forward. One small step doesn't look like much, but take that step every day and it becomes unstoppable. Remember, success is never a single act, it's a series of small, smart choices repeated consistently over time. If you can do something small every day, you can achieve something great every year. The road to wealth isn't built in miles, it's built in inches, traveled faithfully. I remember a time early in my life when everything seemed difficult. The bills, the business, the long hours. I used to say I wish life were easier, and one day my mentor looked me in the eye and said something I'll never forget. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. It hit me like a lightning bolt. He was right. The problem wasn't the challenges, the problem was me. I was expecting the world to get softer instead of deciding to get stronger. That one idea changed everything for me. You see, life doesn't get easier, you get better. Business doesn't slow down for your comfort. The market doesn't pause because you're not ready. The world doesn't bend to fit your level of skill. You rise to meet it. And the way you rise is through consistent growth, through the daily commitment to improve who you are. That's the secret to resilience. When you become better, problems shrink. The same obstacle that once seemed impossible becomes manageable because you've grown bigger than the challenge itself. The truth is, success isn't about avoiding problems, it's about developing the capacity to handle them. Some people spend their lives hoping for smaller problems, But the successful ones develop themselves so they can handle bigger ones. The size of your income, your influence, your business, it all expands only to the extent that you do. That's why I always tell people, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Your job may earn you a living, but your personal development earns you a fortune. When I began to invest in my own education, everything changed. I started dedicating 30 minutes a day to reading, listening to great minds, studying leadership, communication, and human behavior. I treated learning like a job because it was. Every night, I'd write down one lesson I learned and how I could apply it tomorrow. Over time, those small lessons turned into wisdom, and that wisdom started showing up in my decisions, my business, and my results. The beauty of growth is that it compounds, just like money. You start to recognize patterns, anticipate challenges, and see opportunities others miss. You build confidence, not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet confidence that comes from preparation. That's what makes the difference between panic and power when difficulty strikes. Every difficulty is an invitation not to quit, but to evolve. Life asks, how strong are you willing to become? And your answer is written in your daily habits, in the books you read, the skills you practice, the attitude you maintain when things go wrong. Don't measure your growth by how much money you've made or how many problems you've solved. Measure it by how you respond when things don't go your way. That's the real test of maturity, of leadership, of success. So the next time life throws a challenge your way, don't wish it were smaller. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for greater wisdom. Wish for more strength. Wish to become the kind of person who can turn obstacles into opportunities. Because the truth is, when you get better, everything else does too. There was a time when I believed that success came from those big bursts of energy, those moments when you feel unstoppable, ready to conquer the world. You know the feeling. You get inspired, you set huge goals, you work furiously for a week or two, and then the fire fades. The enthusiasm dies down, life gets in the way, and you tell yourself, I'll start again next Monday. But that's not how wealth, mastery, or greatness are built. The truth is, consistency is far more powerful than intensity. What you do daily matters infinitely more than what you do occasionally. I've met people who give everything they've got for a short while and then disappear into inactivity for months. They live on emotional energy, not discipline. And emotions are like the wind, they come and go. But consistency, that's the steady engine that drives results long after motivation runs out. The wealthy, the successful, the disciplined, they've learned to keep showing up even when the excitement is gone. They let systems run where feelings fail. Think of a farmer. He doesn't plant only when he feels inspired. He plants because it's time to plant. He waters because the crops need it. He harvests because the season calls for it. The harvest doesn't depend on how motivated he feels. It depends on how consistent he's been. Life, business, and wealth work the same way. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be consistent. Early in my career, I had that same struggle. Bursts of effort followed by long breaks. I'd read all night for a week, then stop for a month. I'd save money for 2 paychecks, then spend the next 3. And I kept wondering why nothing was changing. My mentor told me, the goal is not to do a lot for a little while, it's to do a little for a long while. That's when I learned to build routines. I scheduled my habits, my reading, my journaling, my planning, even my quiet thinking time. I set reminders, I used simple checklists, I removed the need to decide. Because when you remove decision fatigue, you remove excuses. You see, when you rely on motivation, you'll always be inconsistent. But when you rely on systems, you'll always have progress. That's how the 3% think. They automate their savings so they don't have to feel like saving. They set learning appointments in their calendars as if it were a business meeting. They network regularly, not when it's convenient, but when it's scheduled. The structure becomes the strength. At the end of each month, I'd review one thing, not how perfect I'd been, but how consistent. How many days did I do what I said I'd do? That number told me everything I needed to know about my discipline, my direction, and my destiny. And over time, those numbers improved. My results improved. My life improved. So if you want lasting success, stop chasing emotional highs, build habits that live beyond your moods, don't let your energy decide your effort, schedule your progress, automate your success. Be the person who keeps showing up when others quit, because while motivation may get you started, only consistency will keep you going, and that's where real wealth is built. When I first began my journey toward success, I was obsessed with money, how to earn it, how to grow it, how to manage it. But one day, my mentor said something that stopped me in my tracks. He said, "You think money is your most valuable asset, but it's not. Time is." He told me you can lose money and earn it back, but once time is gone, it's gone forever. That conversation changed the way I looked at my days. I realized that most people treat time like they have an endless supply of it, wasting hours the way others waste dollars. But those who build wealth treat every minute as an investment. Time is the currency of life. And just like money, if you spend it foolishly, you end up bankrupt, not financially, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Success doesn't require more time. It requires better use of the time you already have. The problem isn't that life gives us too little time. It's that we give too little attention to how we use it. Everyone gets the same 24 hours, but not everyone spends them the same way. That's what separates those who struggle from those who succeed. You see, wealthy people manage their time with the same precision they manage their finances. They have a plan for every hour the way others have a plan for every dollar. They know where their time goes. They track it, they budget it, and they protect it. They understand that every minute spent on distraction is a minute stolen from destiny. When I was just starting out, I used to wake up without a plan. I'd let the day decide what I did. I'd react to everything, the phone calls, the interruptions, the emergencies, and at the end of the day, I'd wonder where my time went. But then I learned that if you don't run your day will run you. Every morning, before the world woke up, I planned my day on paper, not just a to-do list, but a real schedule with priorities. I used what I call the power hour, 20 minutes for learning something new, 20 minutes for planning my top tasks, and 20 minutes for focused execution. That 1 hour set the tone for the entire day. Each week, I'd also do a time audit. Just like balancing a financial ledger, I'd look at where my hours went, how much time was invested in my goals versus wasted on distractions, how much time was spent learning, growing, producing. The answers were humbling at first, but awareness brings control. Once you know where your time is going, you can redirect it to where it matters most. And here's something I challenge you to do. Remove one time draining habit every week. It could be mindless scrolling, unnecessary meetings, gossip, or procrastination. You'll be amazed how much energy and opportunity return when you reclaim your hours. You can't deposit time into a bank, but you can invest it into yourself, your business, your dreams. The return on that investment is what we call success. Remember, it's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter with the time you have. Guard it like your fortune, spend it with intention, and watch how consistency in managing your hours compounds into a lifetime of wealth and freedom. When I began my journey toward building real wealth, I was young, ambitious, and like many, impatient. I wanted results yesterday, thinking that if I just worked hard enough, the rewards would arrive instantly. But life quickly taught me a lesson that no book or seminar could ever fully convey. Fast success is often a mirage. It dazzles you with brilliance at first glance, but if you chase it recklessly, it vanishes as quickly as it appears. True wealth is never hurried. It is cultivated slowly, steadily, with patience and intention. The strongest foundations are invisible at first, hidden beneath quiet effort and disciplined habits. I've seen countless people pursue shortcuts, get-rich-quick schemes, speculative investments, or trends that promise instant fortune. For a moment, they shine, and perhaps they even feel successful. But in most cases, the foundation is weak. Sooner or later, the cracks appear, and all the effort that seemed to matter crumbles. Wealth that comes fast often leaves faster. That is why patience is not a sign of slowness. It is the mark of wisdom. Patience is not delay, it is preparation. It is the deliberate choice to stay consistent with your plan, trusting that the seeds you plant today will grow into something substantial tomorrow. When I first started, I didn't see results for months. Some days, it felt like I was planting seeds in barren soil, and nothing sprouted, but I kept at it. I committed to learning, to saving, to improving myself daily. I reminded myself that each small effort, though invisible now, was a brick in the foundation of my future success. I would write down my 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year goals and revisit them each quarter. Sometimes, the progress was imperceptible. Other times, it was painfully slow. But the discipline of staying patient, of moving consistently in the right direction, compounded into results that would have been impossible to achieve in haste. One of the most critical lessons I learned is not to compare your progress to anyone else's. Social media, friends, colleagues, everyone seems to be moving faster, achieving more, living bigger. But measuring your journey against another's is a trap. The slow, steady investor eventually surpasses the one chasing the flashy shortcuts. I would remind myself of my why whenever impatience struck. Why am I doing this? What is the purpose behind my efforts? Connecting to that reason renewed my focus and allowed me to endure periods of apparent stagnation with calm confidence. I remember a time when I was saving diligently and investing small amounts consistently. Friends scoffed at how slow my progress seemed. Yet, over a few years, those small, steady contributions had grown beyond what many of them achieved chasing quick wins. This is the power of patience. It turns what seems insignificant today into a fortune tomorrow. So, understand this. Wealth is a process, not an event. Fast success is tempting, but it rarely lasts. Stay patient, keep your eyes on your long-term vision, and let consistency and disciplined effort do their work. The results will come stronger and more enduring than anything rushed could ever be. When I look back on my journey, one thing becomes crystal clear. Success is not a matter of luck, chance, or some mysterious formula. It is predictable when your habits are predictable. Most people wander through life waiting for opportunity to strike, hoping the right break or stroke of fortune will come their way. But wealth, real, lasting wealth, is rarely random. It follows a pattern, a system rooted in daily habits aligned with a clear vision. If you understand this, you'll realize that the path to financial freedom isn't about trying to be lucky. It's about designing your life with intention so that success almost becomes automatic. Early in my career, I saw people struggle endlessly. They worked hard, yet nothing seemed to change. I realized quickly that effort alone was not enough. The problem wasn't motivation or talent, it was inconsistency. People acted sporadically, chasing ideas in bursts of energy, only to give up when results didn't appear immediately. But the few who succeeded weren't necessarily smarter or luckier, they were consistent. They had routines that reinforced their vision, habits that compounded quietly over time, and a disciplined system that guided their every step. I started by identifying the habits that mattered most to my goals. What daily actions would move the needle on my financial progress? For me, it was reading for self-education, saving a portion of every paycheck, networking with people who inspired growth, and reviewing my goals each morning. I wrote these down, my top 5, and made them non-negotiable. Some days were easy, others tested my resolve. But by making these actions predictable, I removed the guesswork from success. I didn't rely on fleeting inspiration. I relied on the power of habit. Accountability became another cornerstone. I would check in weekly, noting whether I had followed through on my habits. Sometimes I partnered with friends, mentors, or colleagues to ensure consistency. The act of having someone or something hold me accountable created a rhythm that kept me on track even when motivation waned. Over time, what started as conscious effort became automatic. I no longer had to remind myself to do the right things. They had become a natural part of my daily routine. Every Sunday, I would plan the week intentionally around these habits. I blocked out time to read, to review finances, to reach out to contacts, and to reflect on progress. This simple act of planning made my weeks predictable and purposeful. By the time Monday arrived, the structure was in place, and my success became a natural consequence of the disciplined steps I had already committed to. The key takeaway is simple. Design your life as a blueprint for success. If your habits are aligned with your vision, if they are deliberate and consistent, wealth will follow. Your actions compound just like money does. And every day you act predictably in alignment with your goals, you are building a future that is almost inevitable. Success is not a mystery, it is predictable. Follow your habits with discipline. Align them with your vision, and let the system carry you forward. When I think about the way most people handle money, I see a pattern that repeats itself over and over. They earn, they spend, and they hope for a stroke of luck. They buy a ticket, take a chance, or invest in something they barely understand, dreaming of a windfall. This is the way of the gambler. But let me tell you something simple yet profound. Wealth is not built by luck, it is built by habit. It is built by consistent, disciplined choices that compound quietly over time, much like a farmer tending his fields. The farmer saves seed from every harvest, not because he is greedy, but because he understands that each seed is the foundation of next season's growth. This is how wealth is created, slowly, steadily, intentionally. Early in my life, I saw people around me who seemed to struggle endlessly with money. They earned enough, sometimes more than me, yet they were always chasing the next payment, the next purchase, the next temporary relief. I realized that earning alone would never make someone wealthy. You could make $1 million and still be broke if you spent it all. So I adopted the mindset of the farmer. Every time I earned $1, a portion of it was sacred. It was not to be touched for daily pleasures or emotional purchases. That money was the seed for future growth, to be planted carefully and nurtured over time. Saving, however, is not just a matter of setting aside leftover money at the end of the month. It has to be non-negotiable. That's why automation became my ally. Each paycheck, a portion went directly into dedicated savings accounts before I even saw it. By doing this, I removed temptation, emotion, and procrastination from the equation. It became automatic. Just like a farmer doesn't wait for inspiration to plant his seeds, I didn't wait for the perfect moment to save. Naming your savings accounts is another powerful step. I remember the difference it made when I labeled my accounts with purpose. One for investments, one for education, one for emergencies, and one for freedom. Each name served as a constant reminder of why the money was being set aside. Seeing that Freedom Fund grow over months and years gave me a sense of control, motivation, and vision. It was tangible proof that disciplined habits create results, no matter how small the contributions seemed at first. The beauty of consistent saving is in compounding. Small amounts repeated over time grow into a foundation strong enough to seize opportunities, weather crises, and expand your wealth. Just like the farmer who plants his seed season after season, patience and repetition allow growth to multiply. The gambler, on the other hand, is always waiting for luck to intervene, living in uncertainty, and perpetually starting over. So, if you want to build wealth that lasts, save like a farmer. Make it habitual, make it automatic, and give it purpose. Treat every dollar as a seed for the future. Let your discipline today determine your freedom tomorrow. Wealth is grown, not won. When I reflect on the lives of those who struggle financially versus those who succeed, one lesson stands out. Money is either a servant or a master, and most people, sadly, allow it to rule them. They wake up, work hard, and yet spend most of their energy chasing it, reacting to it, or letting it slip through their fingers. Money, in itself, is neither good nor bad. It is simply a tool, a wonderful servant if used wisely, and a terrible master if allowed to control your decisions, your emotions, and your life. I learned early on that the people who are truly free financially are not the ones who have the most money. They are the ones who have learned to make money work for them. The key is intentionality. Every dollar you earn should have a purpose, a role, a task. I remember when I first started managing my modest income, I realized I was spending without thinking, following impulses rather than priorities. That pattern created anxiety, instability, and a feeling that no matter how hard I worked, I never had enough. Then I adopted a system, a zero-based budget. Every dollar earned was assigned a role: living expenses, investments, savings, education, and giving. Nothing was left unaccounted for. And as soon as I implemented this, I noticed a remarkable shift. Money was no longer dictating my life, I was directing it. But intentional budgeting is not a set-it-and-forget-it exercise. Each month, I review where my money worked and where it was wasted. This simple act of reflection reveals patterns that often go unnoticed. Perhaps I overspent on fleeting pleasures, or maybe I could have allocated more to growth opportunities. By tracking and analyzing, I learn and adjust. Money becomes a reflection of my priorities, not of my moods. Every purchase, every transfer, every investment becomes a conscious decision. I began to see that consistent, small acts of discipline compound over time, turning ordinary income into extraordinary results. Another practice that reinforced mastery over money was training myself to delay purchases. If I wanted to buy something, I committed to waiting at least 24 hours before acting. Often the desire would fade, or I would realize the money could be better used for a goal or investment. This simple pause creates control, a buffer between impulse and action. It is in these small decisions, repeated consistently, that financial mastery is cultivated. Mastering money also requires viewing it as a tool for opportunity. I would ask myself regularly, where can this dollar work for me instead of me working for it? A portion went into learning, another into investments, and another into creating future freedom. Money, when disciplined and directed, becomes an ally. When undisciplined, it becomes a master, keeping you in a cycle of scarcity and stress. So, if you desire financial freedom, start today by making money your servant, not your master. Assign it purpose, track its impact, delay impulses, and let every dollar work in alignment with your vision. Control money, and it will multiply. Serve money, and it will consume you. When I first began my journey in business, I quickly realized that relying on a single source of income was like standing on a single leg during a storm. It might hold for a while, but the first gust of wind could topple everything. True financial strength comes not from one paycheck, one business, or one investment, but from multiple streams of income working together, supporting and reinforcing one another. I think of a river. A river fed by many streams never dries. A river fed by only one trickle is at the mercy of drought. This is the principle behind financial resilience. Diversification. Diversifying income isn't about being scattered or greedy. It's about creating balance and protection. One stream might come from your primary job or business, another from investments, another from royalties, or even a side project fueled by your skills or passions. Each source adds a layer of stability and a new opportunity for growth. I remember in my early years, I worked a day job, but I began writing and speaking in the evenings. At first, it was small, barely enough to cover a bill, but over time, that second stream grew, compounding my income and opening doors I had never imagined. What started as a modest side effort eventually became a pillar of my financial freedom. The strategy is simple. Identify what you already have and explore what you can create. List your current income sources and examine their potential vulnerabilities and growth. Ask yourself, if one source disappeared tomorrow, could I sustain my life? If the answer is no, it's time to add another stream. But don't just add anything. Be intentional. Choose streams that complement each other and that align with your strengths and values. For example, profits from one venture can fund investments in another, creating a compounding effect that builds wealth over time. Consistency and patience are key. Many people start a side project or investment with excitement but abandon it at the first sign of challenge. Wealth rarely grows overnight. It grows like a tree, roots first, then branches, then fruit. Each income stream takes time, attention, and nurturing. Automate where possible, but stay involved enough to guide and optimize. Even a small, regular contribution to a new stream compounds into something meaningful over the years. Another practical step is reinvesting profits strategically. Instead of spending all gains from one source, allocate a portion to develop another income avenue. This interconnection allows your streams to support each other and multiplies growth exponentially. I can recall reinvesting modest earnings from my speaking engagements into writing projects and small business ventures. Each step seemed minor at the time, but over years, it transformed my financial foundation. The essence of diversification is resilience, opportunity, and freedom. The more streams you cultivate, the more secure and flexible you become. You are no longer hostage to one paycheck, one client, or one venture. You create a network of income that works together, feeding your life, your goals, and your future. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Begin today, start small, and let your streams grow until your financial river flows strong and unshakable. I remember early in my career, when my income first began to rise, the temptation was overwhelming. Suddenly, the latest gadgets, a slightly fancier car, or a bigger apartment seemed not just desirable but necessary. I fell into that trap for a moment, thinking that prosperity was measured by the comforts I could now afford. But very quickly, I learned a crucial lesson. Wealth is not how much you make, but how much you keep and grow. When income rises but habits remain immature, all that extra money slips through your fingers, often faster than it arrived. Prosperity without discipline is poverty in disguise. The philosophy is simple but profound. Increase your assets faster than your expenses. Wealth builds quietly when you resist the urge to match your lifestyle to your income. I recall a colleague who earned twice as much as I did, yet at the end of each year, his bank account showed almost no growth. Why? Because he upgraded everything. Cars, vacations, homes, immediately. Meanwhile, my savings grew modestly but steadily, and over time, my net worth surpassed his by a wide margin. The discipline of delaying gratification, of prioritizing growth over indulgence, is the secret of lasting prosperity. The strategy is to consciously manage your spending in proportion to your income. Every raise, bonus, or unexpected gain should be treated first as an opportunity to invest, save, or pay down debt. Lifestyle upgrades should follow only after the future is secured. This ensures that your wealth compounds rather than dissipates. Consider this. If you save 50% of a raise versus spending 100% in 10 years, that decision alone can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in compounded growth. Small, consistent choices build empires. Practical steps bring this philosophy to life. First, commit to increasing your savings rate whenever your income rises. Treat new income like a seed, planting it in investments before it reaches your lifestyle. I started by dedicating half of every bonus directly to a savings or investment account. At first, it felt like deprivation, but over time, it became a habit that produced comfort far beyond temporary indulgences. Second, cap lifestyle upgrades to a fraction of new income. 25% is a simple, effective rule. This allows for modest enjoyment without compromising your future. And third, review quarterly whether your net worth is growing faster than your expenses. This regular check forces accountability. It answers the question, are you building wealth or are you just spending more cleverly? Resisting lifestyle inflation also builds character and mindset. It shifts your focus from what you can buy to what you can create. It trains patience, foresight, and the skill of delayed gratification. Over time, this discipline becomes second nature. Wealth, then, is not just the accumulation of money, but the cultivation of habits that protect, multiply, and secure it for the long term. Remember, riches are not given, they are grown quietly and consistently, often when the world is too distracted by immediate comfort to notice. Make your money work for you before you let it work for anyone else. Early in my journey, I watched many around me struggle with money, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they let debt dictate their lives. Debt, I realized, is like fire. It can cook your meal or burn your house down, depending on how you control it. Many people borrow to impress others, to buy things that provide instant satisfaction but no long-term value. They borrow to consume, not to create. And when the bills arrive with interest stacked on top, their freedom disappears. Wealth is not about how much you earn, it is about how much control you maintain. Using debt wisely, or avoiding it entirely, is a principle that separates the wealthy from the average. The philosophy is straightforward. Debt should serve you, never enslave you. Productive debt is used to acquire assets that generate income, whether it's a business loan to expand operations, a mortgage on an income-producing property, or investment capital that yields returns above the cost of borrowing. Destructive debt, on the other hand, is used to purchase liabilities, cars, vacations, electronics, that lose value while collecting interest. When you borrow for consumption, you trade freedom for a fleeting experience. The strategy is about discernment and discipline. First, make an inventory of all your current debts and identify their purpose. Are they building wealth or simply draining your resources? Understanding the nature of each liability gives clarity and control. Second, commit to paying off consumer debt aggressively. High-interest credit cards, personal loans, and other non-productive borrowing must be eliminated before you even think about investing or taking on more debt. I remember sitting at my kitchen table early in my career, surrounded by bills and interest statements, and I realized that my ambition would remain a dream until I mastered my obligations. Each payment made was a step toward freedom and mental clarity. Third, use credit sparingly and only when the expected return exceeds the cost. This is not about fear of borrowing. It is about intelligent leverage. Practical steps make this philosophy actionable. Begin by listing every debt, the amount, the interest rate, and the purpose. Mark clearly which debts produce income and which do not. Create a repayment plan for all consumer debt, prioritizing the highest interest rates first. Simultaneously, explore opportunities where borrowing could accelerate wealth, but only when the math makes sense. I've seen many ambitious individuals borrow recklessly, thinking opportunity alone would save them. It rarely does. Calculated borrowing, combined with disciplined repayment, can amplify results. Automation helps. Set up automatic payments to avoid late fees and emotional slips. And always apply the principle of debt as a tool, not a toy. Let money and leverage work for you, not against you. The key lies in mindset. Borrow consciously, act intentionally, and remember that real wealth grows from assets, not from fancy payments. The average person is enslaved by interest. The wealthy command it as a resource. Control your debt, and you control your financial destiny. Avoid it or use it wisely, and your future becomes free, secure, and scalable. Master debt, and you master freedom. Remember, wealth is not built overnight. It is the product of disciplined choices, consistent habits, and a mindset focused on long-term growth. Every action you take today, no matter how small, compounds into your future success. Take control of your finances, use debt wisely, save consistently, and invest in yourself daily. Surround yourself with growth-minded people, serve before you sell, and never let short-term desires derail your long-term vision. I challenge you to start now. Write down one financial goal, commit to one daily habit, and take one deliberate action today that your future self will thank you for.